The Biology Department, in collaboration with the Centre for Coastal and Watershed Studies, offers the Coastal Studies Semester. The Coastal Studies Semester is a travel-based experiential learning programme that provides a solid academic framework for the study of environmental science. As a member of a close-knit, motivated community, participants will gain an understanding and appreciation for the coastal environment, not only in biological and ecological terms, but also by placing coastal issues in a historical and cultural context. Some of the key locations while we're travelling on the Coastal Studies Semester include New Germany State Park in Western Maryland, the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory in Southern Maryland, Japoke's Plantation State Park, which is our base of operations while visiting Jamestown and Williamsburg, the Virginia Institute of Marine Science on the Eastern Shore, Wallops Island Marine Consortium, Horn Point and Oxford Lab. In addition to visiting the key locations, we offer some additional trips, for example, the banding of saw-whet owls.
The semester itself is a series of block-scheduled courses so that each student receives an entire semester's worth, 16 or 17 credits worth, of coursework during the program. And all of the courses that they take are within the program, so that there's no chance of conflicts with other outside courses or other sorts of programming here on campus. And it allows us then to travel at will throughout the semester.
When we went out to Western Maryland for our first trip, we stayed in cabins at New Germany State Park. They're very nice. And we just spent the days there talking more about how important headwaters are in the watershed. So we went out to a stream and we did a stream study, and we took samples there, and we looked at organisms and things like that, and we used some pretty cool equipment. And then we also got to talk to a plethora of different biologists and scientists. We talked to a forester, and he told us what it's like to be working in the forestry industry. We talked to a bear biologist, and he told us all about how he goes about tracking cubs. We also talked to a bird biologist, and he actually took us out at night and we went to call owls, and he actually got some to come in, and that was really cool. And one of my favorite speaker was at the college nearby. We fondly refer to him as Texas Peter. And he told us all about strip mining and how that really affects the water quality of these headwater streams and how that can really be detrimental to the entire watershed. For the start of our second trip, we started out looking more at the historical view of the bay and the colonial the early times of the bay. So we started out at the Japoke's Plantation, staying in these cute little cabins, and then we went to Jamestown. And then we also went to Williamsburg, which is just down the road, and that is set in a later time period. For the second part of our second trip, we looked more at field work and science. So we stayed at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science at their Eastern Shore Laboratory, and there we got to experience a lot of what it would be like to work in an actual marine lab. So we went out on boats and we took samples in mud flats. We took water samples. We trawled for organisms and found some different fish and squids and things like that. And we also took sediment samples to look at the different types of sediments in an estuary environment. You feel like a real scientist when you're there and you're actually getting to work on this equipment and in this space. That's really cool. For our third and final coastal studies trip, we went to Southern Maryland, and we stayed at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory on Solomon's Island, and that was through the University of Maryland. But most of the time where we did our scientific work, we went down the road to Pearl, which is Morgan State's estuary lab that they have on the bay. And at Pearl, we got to do a lot of cool things. We went out on a boat with them and we looked at water stratification, and we also trawled for organisms, and we scooped up mud to look at what would be in the sediments there. And then we went back to their lab and used their facilities to analyze plankton and to analyze filter feeding rates of different organisms. And we got to do a lot of work also with oyster diseases. On that trip, we also did some really fun things like going to the Calvert Marine Museum and going to Calvert Cliffs.
One of the courses that I teach is Human Impacts on the Chesapeake Bay. And this is a course I really enjoy because it is truly multidisciplinary. We start off looking at the science of the bay, but we're quickly moving to looking at the bay from many, many other points of view. A second course that I'm responsible for in the program is Coastal Community Ecology. And we really define that course pretty broadly. So we start out by looking at forest ecology and freshwater ecology when we're up in the higher parts of the watershed. And then we also do the same in the lowlands, the wetlands, the bay itself, and off the coast of the Delmarva Peninsula.
The courses that I'm responsible for teaching during the semester are coastal oceanography. We visit the mudflats when we're at VIMS as well, and characterize that as a low energy environment. And then we travel to the Cedar Island side to investigate a high energy beach. We collect sediment samples and analyze the characteristics of both of those environments based on the physical oceanography components. When we visit the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory and take a field trip to Pearl, we collect water samples from the Patuxent River and analyze the nutrients in that water and carry out a nutrient limitation bioassay.
In addition to tuition, we asked the students to pay an additional $1,200 Coastal Studies fee. This covers pretty much everything that they do when they're off campus, including their room, their board, laboratory fees, instructor fees, boat rentals, even museum fees. The students, while they're on these trips, prepare all their own meals. They are in charge of developing their own menus and shopping and cooking and cleaning.
After completing the Coastal Studies semester, you need only take one more field experience class to obtain the Coastal Studies minor. All of these field courses are short-term, lasting only 3 weeks, and are intense travel-based experiences that allow you to study new environments. We offer a tropical marine ecology course in the Bahamas, a tropical forest ecology course in Costa Rica, or an environmental issues course based in Florida.
My favorite part of the whole program had to be the trip to Costa Rica. Learning about natural history with a rainforest in my backyard was amazing.
My favorite part was, definitely a plus was making the friends that I met, and definitely the vast wealth of knowledge and information brought to the table from both the professors and the people we met that had been working in the scientific community for some time.
The reason I came to Hood College was because I heard of the Coastal Studies program. I'm from Malibu, California originally, but grew up in Las Vegas. and I came to a whole different part of the country just to be able to be part of this program.
One of my favorite experiences during the coastal study semester is when we traveled down to Southern Maryland and we went to the Morgan State Pearl Laboratory, and we got to go on a boat out on the bay, and we got to do some oyster shucking and look at different oyster diseases like dermo and MSX, and I thought that was really interesting. After completing my coastal studies semester, I got an internship with a research experience for undergraduates in Puerto Rico, and I definitely credit Coastal with that because of all the hands-on field work we got during the program.
In a nutshell, Coastal it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. We get to take so many cool field trips and to actually go into the field and be on a boat and taking samples, or out on a beach or a mud flat and getting to dig for organisms. Like, you can't just do that in your regular college setting.
When we were visiting at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, I met a really nice PhD student named Sankita from New Zealand, and she was doing shark research at the time, and she let me come in and help on her experiments, and that's incredible because I've wanted to be a shark researcher for my whole life.
I'm really very proud of the alums of our program. We've done this program for about a decade, and over that period of time we've probably had a couple of hundred students that we have worked with. And some of those students, many of those students, have gone on to careers in environmental science or an environmentally related field.